How you doing, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, whichever it may be. As you can see, today I'm having a look at the Garindan figure from the Sideshow Collectibles Scum and Villainy collection. Garindan, I'm not sure which it is. On the front of the box there, you can see we have an image of Garindan with his communications device and his blaster in his hand, and then on the side, pretty bland, nothing written there. And then in typical Scum and Villainy collection theme, we have an image of the figure on the left hand side and a small monologue about the figure on the right hand side. And then at the bottom we have an image of the 5 characters from the Cantina crew from the Scum and Villainy collection. So there we have it for the box for Garindan, or I think it's pronounced Garindan, isn't it? So let's have a quick pan of the figure before we get into the details. And please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. It really helps out the channel. Thanks. So here we are for a quick pan of Garindan before we get into the accessories and the details of the figure. And just a fun fact that, as far as I know, that the voice for Garindan was actually John Wayne's voice that was put through a synthesizer, believe it or not. It's quite a squeaky voice that anybody who remembers Garindan's voice, it was quite squeaky. But from what I believe, it is actually the voice of John Wayne that's been put through a synthesizer to make it squeaky, which is just a fun fact. You can see his communications device in his hand there. I just thought I'd mention that fun fact before we get into the details and while we give him a pan. Not a lot of screen time for Garindan, not the most exciting figure in the world. He did show up in The Mandalorian at one point, didn't he, when or it was at least one of Garindan's species, when Mandalorian is looking for passage and he's looking for a transport device and he asks for no droids. So either it is Garindan or one of his species makes an appearance in the Mandalorian season. Can't remember which season it was. But let's move on anyway and have a look at the accessories that Garindan has. So here we have it for Garindan's accessories. Not a whole heap of accessories here. Very, very minimum accessories, but we do have everything we need. 2 relaxed palms, we have a trigger hand, and we have this hand here for holding the comms device, as you can see there. So that's a specific hand for holding the comms device, and we have that trigger hand there as well for his blaster. And there is a bit of detail in the hands, or in the gloves, in the sense that there's a nice bit of wash running through them, or should I say dry brushing. I'm not particularly fond of that seam line on that particular one, but there is a nice little dry brush going through them there. I'm not sure if it's picking up on camera or not, but there is a bit of detail to them and a bit of texture to them as well. They are a bit textured, as much as that will not focus. It'll focus on every glove except the one I'm looking at. We do have some crinkling effect to show that it is a glove, and there is a nice little bit of dry brushing going through the palm as well. So not bad, they do the job. And then we have his comms device, and just like it is in the movie, white at the bottom, white at the top, and then this kind of rippled grip effect to it there. I would have liked to see a bit of wash running through the white parts of it. It would have just made it look that little bit more used and realistic, but it does the job. And then we have at the top there the microphone part there, the grid part for the microphone that he speaks through. So does exactly what it says in the tin, and it is movie accurate. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen a bit of wash through it, but not the end of the world. Then we have his blaster, and this is almost identical to Ponda Baba's blaster in the sense that the body of it there, the receiver end of it there, is almost identical, and it has the same barrel to it as well. The only difference is the optic and the grip, as far as I can tell. Little bit of dry brushing going through it there, not as much as I would have liked. I would have liked a bit of dry brushing through the trigger and that, but not the end of the world. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. No moving parts in it, and there is a bit of wear on the grip there as well. So it is what it is. It is Garindan's blaster, and it does look the part and do the job. So there we have it very quickly for his accessories. Not a whole heap of them, but there you go. And here we have Garindan pretty much straight up as he comes out of the box. Just having a quick look at the base there. Typical Sideshow hexagonal base. Nothing exciting. Star Wars written on the back. Nothing on the front. Absolutely boring. Extremely boring, but what can you do? So starting off in my usual fashion with Garindan, we'll have a look at his footwear or his boots. And they are, again, split boot design, full plastic mold, no pleather, thank God. A little bit of wear or you know, a lighter brown put to the tip of them to make them look a bit more weathered. They are a dark chocolatey brown. They are almost identical, or maybe even identical to Ponda Baba's boots. There is a bit of texture, leathered effect on them and a folded effect on them. I don't have Ponda Baba at hand at the moment, but I'm pretty sure they are the identical boots to Ponda Baba, and a flat sole on them as well there. So I do like the fact that they are plastic and not pleather. There's no chance of deterioration. There is a lighter effect. They do fade up to a lighter brown, shade of brown at the top. But like I said, I'm really pleased that they're putting plastic mold in these boots and not pleather. Up to his trousers, these are quite good quality, quite nice material. Very similar, very reminiscent to the trousers you'll find on the Clint Eastwood's Legacy, the Clint Eastwood Legacy figures. I'm pretty sure they're the same material and the same trousers that they've used on this figure as they've used on the Clint Eastwood ones, and probably the same body, to be honest. Just at a guess, it's probably the same body as the Clint Eastwood figures too. You can see he has his holster there for his blaster. It is black. There's a little bit of weathering there on that part there. The stitching is okay, it's acceptable. It is a full pleather belt, unfortunately. I'm not too pleased about that, and it does has the typical magnetic, you know, strap on the side of it there for the holster, which seems to be on all of their Star Wars figures and even the Hot Toys ones these days. So it's nice to have that little magnet there. Above there we have his almost navy blue. It's kind of a, yeah, it's a almost navy shade. He does have plastic press studs hidden behind this little flap here for attaching it, so it's very hard to see the studs. And it does have this little elasticated effect around the waistline of it there, which kind of tapers everything in nice and neatly. Looking at his hands again, you can see that, if I can get it to focus, it is a separate gauntlet piece, which is great for covering up those wrist pegs. And I'm just going to take off this outer cloak for the moment just to have a look at the details at the back. Again, stitched quite well. It's tapered in at the waistband. It's quite a small body and tapered in, but all the stitching in all the areas that need to be, you know, done are quite nicely done. And even in the back of the pockets there, the jeans is quite nicely stitched. So no complaints with the stitching. Is no complaints with any of the Sideshow stitching these days, to be honest. His inner cloak, you can see it fits quite nicely. It does kind of wrap around the neck. Does it untie? It does untie. There is a little clip for undoing it. I probably shouldn't. I have a funny feeling this is going to be a mistake, but there is a clip there, and this is going to be a mistake, I'm sure, but I am going to take it off just to see more of the details. And you don't have to take off the head sculpt to take off that. If I don't see any reason to take it off, to be honest with you, there's no real reason for taking it off, and I'm not even sure why I just took it off, to be quite frank, because now I'm absolutely struggling to get this on. So it took me a minute to get the clip back on. It's not ideal. I don't recommend that you do what I just did and unclip that. It's not necessary. I really don't know why I done it. Just popping the outer cape or cloak back on, and you can see me rubbing it there. It is movie accurate, but it is very much so a dust magnet. The inside cloak and the outside cloak there have a bit of weathering around the bottom of it there, which is a nice little touch. A little bit of weathering just down the bottom portion. which adds to the illusion. And as you can see, I'm wiping it down there because it is an absolute dust magnet. I keep having to wipe it down. It does the job. It looks the part. Even in the movie, it does have... Let me get this into frame a bit. Can I get this into frame? I'm going to pull him down a bit there. In the movie, he even does have this point on it there. When I first took the figure out of the box, I was like, oh no, I don't like this. But looking back at it, it is movie accurate. It does have the point on it. So it's a movie accurate design. So without further ado, I will get this guy a bit more stable, and we will get a close-up on the head sculpt, and we'll take a look at the details. And here we have Garindan up close and personal, and as you can see, I've left the outer cloak on him just to let you see how it sits on his head and how his goggles peer out. It does look the part, but I will add that I'm not a big fan of the cloak. It's quite cheap. It's quite a cheap material. I would have liked to have seen a bit of wire running up it down the bottom and running up this part here. There's no wiring in any of those cloaks, the inner or the outer cloak, which I would have liked to have seen just for being able to pose it a little bit more naturally. It does just kind of, if I just pull it out there, it just kind of flops there. It just sits there. I would have liked to have had a wire in it just to be able to curl it in a bit and manipulate it a little bit, you know. It would have been a nice little touch from Sideshow to do, but they didn't do it, so it is what it is. So getting back to the head sculpt, and I will just remove this cloak and we will have a look at the details on this sculpt. If I can get this a bit closer, and there we go. Yeah, on point sculpt. It seems to be quite accurate, and if you look very closely, if I can lift his head up there, there isn't a whole heap of articulation in the head because of the snout. It doesn't really go back that far, never mind forward. But if you look very closely, you can even see the stitching where the snout is stitched onto the head covering, or the you know, it seems as you don't see him that closely in the movie, but you can't see all the stitching, and even all the stitching running down the snout of the figure. There is a bit of texture to the snout as well, and all the little holes in it where they should be. Some dry brushing on it, and if you look very closely here, you can see the grill part, or the grid part. It's like the same effect as a microphone, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. You don't see that in the movie, but you have it there. It's like kind of a microphone effect up his snout, or a filter in the snout area. His glasses or his goggles on him, they are all one plastic mold. They are attached to the sculpt. You can't remove them. I don't see why you would want to remove them anyway. So, you know, it's no big deal that they're molded in. There is quite a reflectiveness to the glass part of it as well. As you can see there, they do reflect. And you have this little silver piece in the middle there, and all these little silver kind of studs running all around it as well. And even this part here, the shroud that goes over the head, the stitching, you can see the stitching in it there as well, which is a nice little bit of detail. And even the mold, the shape of the mold, it looks like it's all stretched down and pulled tight around the head, which gives a bit of depth to the sculpt and really looks the part. And then moving around to the back, you can see where the strap of the goggles becomes brown, and the buckle on it as well, and more the stitching running down the back. So it does absolutely look the part, and it does absolutely look like Garindan. And I'll just put this cloak back on him there, just so you can see kind of a side profile of how it looks. And you can't see a whole heap of the figure from the side. I think maybe this part should have curved back a little bit more, just so you could see the snout a bit more. You'd probably have to futz with it a little bit just to get the snout more revealed from the side profile. But as I said, just to add more disappointment to the cloak, I do not like this little lip that's folded over. You see this lip that's folded over? I'm not a big fan of it, but not a deal breaker, not the end of the world, but it is what it is. So there we have it for Garindan.
Just something else I didn't mention, and is a point of contention with sideshow figures: the body. The body is quite tight. The joints are all tight on it. It's all double jointed, and I'm not underwhelmed with the quality of the body. I think the sideshow are definitely improving on their bodies as time goes by.
Please do hit the like and subscribe button if you did like the video and you do want to see more of this content. As I said, not the most exciting figure in the world. I've left you with some images of the figure there, just in some different poses. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Please keep your eye out for future content, and take care.